Hello and welcome to Mind Shifters Radio. I'm Tim Hayes. I'm your host for the first hour, and today is a Friday. Friday, November 21st, 2025. As always, we're grateful to everyone who's joining us here today, whether you're listening live or through the archives, as we spend another couple of hours teaching and supporting people in using some of the most powerful, effective, efficient, and accessible tools I've ever encountered. These tools are available absolutely free through the tireless efforts of Dr. Michael and Jeanie Ryce on the website at whyagain.org. If you go to that website and click on the two words that say Start Here, they're located in the upper left-hand corner. It will take you to a page where you can download and read Chapter 24 of Dr. Michael Ryce's book. His book is titled, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And that chapter of the book contains a narrative description and explanation of the primary tool in this work. That tool is called the Reality Management Worksheet, sometimes called the Reality Management Wake-Up Sheet. And it's a tool I've been using to great effect for over 21 years now to improve the quality of my life and most of my relationships, and to turn any negative emotional experience I have, turn it into part of the infallible guidance system that each and every one of us has been given. You can also download the actual worksheet process itself. It's a simple PDF file. Click the link, download it, print it off, copy it as often as you'd like, and use it over and over again absolutely free. You can also download a whole host of audio files of shows just like this one where people have been stepped through that worksheet process. And if you choose to listen to them even repeatedly, they can serve as a powerful tutorial for you to help you get maximum benefit from these tools in the shortest amount of time possible. You can also go to your App Store and type in the three words Heartland Aramaic Forgiveness. And before you do that, before you're done typing the word forgiveness, you'll see the glowing heart icon. If you tap on that, it will let you download a completely free and private app that contains the Reality Management Worksheet. It contains an abbreviated version of that worksheet process, and it contains a copy of the Dragon-Klingon game, which is a wonderful way to introduce these tools to even younger audiences. And we hope people do all of that soon and often, primarily because it tends to improve the quality of people's lives the more they actively apply these tools in their lives. And secondarily, because it tends to prompt comments, questions, answers, and testimonials. If you have any of those to share with us, we would appreciate you doing so. You can email me at tjh@mindshifters-academy.org. And or you can email Jeanie at jeanie@yagain.org. That's whyagain.org. And if we get a question or a comment from you, we'll address it on the internet show as time allows, send you a notification about what day and time that occurred, so you can listen back to the archives for your feedback or input. The other option is you can join us live. You can go to zoom.us and open up a browser or call one of the many numbers that they make available and enter a meeting ID number to join us most weekdays from 11 a.m. till noon Central Time. And the meeting ID number for the first hour is 853-2357-4173. That's 853-2357-4173. If you join through phone, they'll be automatically muted, and you can unmute yourself and speak up by just typing *6, and that will toggle you in and out of the mute position. And we greatly appreciate whenever anybody shares with us, because it makes it so much easier for us to live into our intention with this work. The intention we have with this work is to be of service. And that is just boatloads easier to do when we know how these things are landing for you. So please feel free to speak up and let us know. Even if I seem to be in the middle of reading something or seem to be in a monologue, your contributions are always valued. So, how can we support you today? What's on your mind? We are sitting here kind of a crossroads. We've finished reading with commentary Guy Finley's book, One Love, One Life, One Journey. And then yesterday we just did some review and talk. So today we're free to have a conversation or start a different book or go back and review something that we've already talked about extensively over the past soon to be 15 years. And you get to contribute. You get to raise a hand and let us know what's working and what's not working. We had our support group last night, and again, as we anticipated, some of the census was low because people are at intensives, people are recovering from knee surgery, people are working at different jobs than they used to, so we had a very low census. And as often happens in those low census groups, some pretty deep processing happens, and we listened to the most recent Michael Singer podcast and looked for all the similarities, as we so often do, between the essential teachings from one well-recognized spiritual teacher to the next. And when I can tap into what those similarities are, I can see the major thread that ties all these things together. I start to get a deeper understanding and experience in a much shorter period of time than I would if I was just relying on one source. I had occasion this morning to be meeting with another young person, and in a first series of sessions, I'm frequently trying to put some foundational tools into people's hands. And the one we were talking about this morning is The Art of Nonviolent Communication. It's about a 1-hour audio. I've mentioned it on the radio show before. It's written by Micah Salaberrios, M-I-C-A-H, Salaberrios with a B. And you can get it through Audible, and it's only $4 or $5 for the Audible book. And then it's just under an hour long, so you can listen to it repeatedly and gain deeper and deeper understanding and rehearsal and build it into a habit. And you can dramatically improve the quality of your relationships and communications if you choose to apply a tool like this. And what I tell people about it is it's the same fundamental pattern for communication that I have found in 3 other places over the years, and I've referred people to all 3 of these over the years. The first one is Robert Bolton's book, People Skills. In it, he has a segment he calls reflective listening. And it's almost identical to Dr. Michael Ryce's responsibility communication tool, and that's almost identical to Harville Hendricks's Imago dialogue tool. And all 4 of these, The Art of Nonviolent Communication, Reflective Listening with Bolton, Harville Hendricks and the Imago dialogue, Michael Ryce and the responsibility communication, all 4 of them have found the same deep truths about communication and about the purpose for initiating communication and about the distorting factor of all of our judgments and emotions and how to structure communications that acknowledge that we're the ones creating our own emotions and acknowledge that we really do want to connect with the other person. That's the purpose of talking and reaching out. And it is it's a thrill to me to be able to recommend that 1-hour audio to people because it has the potential to be such a corrective pattern in their lives if they will choose to use that tool. and learn to communicate from, as Michael Ryce calls, the point of the position of responsibility. I know that I'm the one creating my emotions. I know I'm the one creating all the meaning that I give to anything that unfolds in my life. And if I'm willing to focus on that truth, then when these things come up, I can turn the focus inside myself to where these energies are actually getting created and getting fueled, and I can make changes, especially if I have tools like the ones Dr. Michael Ryce recommends. I can make changes in short order to what I'm experiencing inside of me. So, if you haven't already done it, if you haven't already looked into the Art of Nonviolent Communication, it's based on the work of Dr. Marshall Rosenberg. And yet, if you look at one of his books, you could be listening for 7 or 9 or 12 hours, whereas you get this very concise, very effective recitation in this one short book. So if you experiment with that, as with all these things, we encourage people to come back and let us know, how did it work for you? How did it work for you? So, comments, questions, people you think could benefit from that tool. The other big thing that happened is we had a conversation with this young person about the meaning of the word boundaries. And he said, I set a boundary with so-and-so. And I stopped and said, now, when I talk to people, I like to get some agreement on what the meaning is that we're holding for whatever words we use. And then I gave him my definition of the term boundaries. I say it's a word we use to refer to everything that I say and do that's educating the people around me about what I think is acceptable and not acceptable. And a lot of times when people hear that, they get all excited and they think, great, I'm going to go out and I'm going to teach people about what I think is acceptable and not acceptable. Okay, good idea. Here's the part of this dynamic that you might be missing that's important to pay attention to. Everything that I say and everything that I do educates the people around me about what I think is acceptable and not acceptable. The example I use is the father who raised his children to think, lying is bad and honesty will save you and it's always the right choice and, whatever, at all costs, always be honest. It's the best choice. It's the truth that sets you free, etc. And then one day, he's out working in the garage. It's a summer day, and his 12-year-old is in the kitchen, and the phone rings. It's back in the time when phones had to be plugged into a wall. And the 12-year-old answers the phone, and it's Uncle Larry. And she yells out to her dad, hey, Dad, Uncle Larry's on the phone. And Dad yells out, tell him I'm not home. And in that one act, his actions are telling his daughter a different story about truth and about how we want to always be true. We don't want to always be true. We only want to be true when it suits us. We want the honest truth only when it's what we want to hear. And since we all understand that, the actions speak louder than words. We see it in our own lives. We see it with our families. We see it in our work environments. And so if we understand that actions speak louder than words, if I say, it's not appropriate, it's not good for you to talk to me that way, and then somebody keeps talking to me that way, and I stand there and argue with them about it, or I stand there and try and get them to focus on doing what I want them to do instead of what they think is appropriate, then the problem is that my words are sending a message about what I think I want to communicate, and my actions are actually communicating. It's perfectly okay. You can yell at Tim, you can call him names, and he's going to stick around. So this powerful piece of any therapy that I'm involved in is the recognition about where my emotions are created, and the recognition that I'm sending messages even when I'm not aware I'm sending messages. So, Micah Salaberios, The Art of Nonviolent Communication, and or the Imago Dialogue that you could find in the book by Harville Hendricks, and or Dr. Michael Ryce's free Responsibility Communication, which is just another one of the worksheets that you can download if you go to the whyagain.org website, WHYAGAIN.org. So, in lieu of anybody raising a hand, I had mentioned this book a few weeks ago, and it's a little book titled The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse by Charlie Mackesy. And it has these delightful little, seemingly hand-drawn illustrations. And the book starts out with an intro that says, "Hello, you started at the beginning, which is impressive. I usually start in the middle, and I never read introductions. It's surprising that I've made it a book because I'm not good at reading them. The truth is, I need pictures. They're like islands or places to go to in the sea of words. This book is for everyone, whether you're 8 or 80. I feel like I'm both sometimes. And I'd like it to be a book that you can dip into anywhere, anytime. Start in the middle if you like. Scribble on it. Crease the corners. Leave it well thumbed. The drawings are mainly of a boy, a mole, a fox, and a horse. I'll tell you a little bit about them, although I'm sure you'll see things here that I don't see, so maybe I'll be quick. The boy is lonely when the mole first surfaces. They spend time together gazing into the wild. I think the wild is a bit like life. It's frightening sometimes, and yet beautiful. In their wanderings, they meet the fox. It's never going to be easy meeting a fox if you're a mole. The boy is full of questions. The mole is greedy for cake. The fox is mainly silent and wary because he's been hurt by life. The horse is the biggest thing they've ever encountered, and also the gentlest. They're all different, like us, and each has their own weaknesses. I can see myself in all 4 of them. Perhaps you can too. Their adventures happen in springtime, where one moment snow is falling and the sun shines the next, which is also a little bit like life. It can turn on a sixpence. I hope this book encourages you, perhaps, to live courageously, with more kindness for yourself and for others, and to ask for help when you need it, which is always a brave thing to do. When I was making the book, I often wondered, who on earth am I to be doing this book? But as the horse says, quote, the truth is, everyone is just winging it, close quotes. So I say, spread your wings and follow your dreams. This book is one of mine. I hope you enjoy it, and much love to you. Thank you, Charlie. And the book then has a little picture of a person looking at the ground, and a little mole's nose is sticking up out of the ground, and the boy, says, hello. And the mole says, I'm so small. Yes, said the boy, but you make a huge difference. And the boy picks up the mole and puts him on a branch that is high up in the air, and then the boy climbs up in the branch and sits next to the mole. The mole asks, what do you want to be when you grow up? The boy replies, kind. What do you want to be when you grow up? The mole asks, or the boy asks, what do you think success is? And the mole says, to love. To love is the meaning of success. And then there's a picture of a mole sitting next to a cake. And the mole says, well, hello. And the next page is full of some questions. Do you have a favorite saying? Asked the boy. Yes, said the mole. Well, what is it? Asked the boy. The mole replied, well, my favorite saying is, if at first you don't succeed, have some cake. I see, says the boy. Does it work? Every time, said the mole. Just a tiny, tiny taste. And there's a picture of a mole next to a cake, and the words, a tiny, tiny taste, and then all stages of destruction of the cake until there's nothing left but the mole and some crumbs. I got you a delicious cake, said the mole. Did you? Said the boy. Yes, I did. Well, where is it? Said the boy. I ate it, said the mole. Oh, said the boy. But I got you another. Oh, you did? Yeah, well, where is that one? The same thing seems to have happened to the second cake. And then there's a question, what do you think is the biggest waste of time? And the mole replied, comparing yourself to others. And then the boy asks, I wonder if there is a school of unlearning. Unlearning. The Unlearning Institute. You can get lovely emails from Sandy at the Unlearning Institute every day in your mailbox. Then there's a picture of the mole and the boy, and again, they're up on a tree branch just hanging out. Most of the old moles I know wish they had listened less to their fears and more to their dreams, said the mole. Then there's a picture of them sitting in the grass looking out over a prairie. What is that over there? It's the wild, said the mole. Don't fear it. Imagine how we would be if we were less afraid. And then there's a picture that's hand-drawn, but this has more colors in it. Blues and orange and greens. Then there's a picture of them at night sitting on a tree branch, the mole and the boy, and the moon is out and the stars are out, and walking underneath the branch is a red fox. The next picture is them on the ground, the boy and the mole, and the fox leaning into look at the mole, but the fox is tied up. And the mole says, I'm just afraid. If I wasn't caught in this snare, said the fox, I would kill you. He's talking to the mole. And then the mole says, but if you stay in that snare, you'll die. So the mole chewed through the wire with his tiny teeth, freeing the fox. So here's a mole actually been threatened with his life by the fox and chooses for love, chooses to do a nice deed, even though it may cost him his life. And then the mole says to the boy, one of our greatest freedoms is how we react to things. And below them, there's the fox. And he seems to have walked around in a pattern that looks very much like a large heart. The mole says, I've learned how to be in the present. How? Asked the boy. The mole says, well, I find a quiet spot and I shut my eyes and breathe. That's good. And then what? Well, the mole says, then I focus. The boy says, what do you focus on? Well, cake, of course, said the mole. Isn't it odd we can only see our outsides, but nearly everything happens on the inside? And there's a picture of the boy and the mole lying on the ground near the edge of a pond, staring into the reflection. Pensive, thoughtful, just out in nature, out in the wild, and just breathing and softening. And then they're trying to walk across some rocks scattered through the water. And the boy says, be careful not to oh, and the mole falls in. Now the mole is in the water, and then the fox shows up near the edge of the water, and the fox jumps in and pushes the mole to safety. And then the boy hugs the fox, and the mole and the fox sit nose to nose, and now they've each saved each other's lives. And then there's three of them staring up at the night sky. It might be a picture of a shooting star or a comet. And the words read, so much beauty we need to look after. And then they're walking home, and this time the mole is riding on the fox's back. And then the mole says, being kind to yourself is one of the greatest kindnesses, said the mole. We often wait for kindness, but being kind to yourself can start right now, said the mole. Don't wait. Choose for love right now. Choose for love over fear every moment of your life. And then the boy says, you know, often the hardest person to forgive is yourself. Sometimes I feel lost, said the boy. Me too, says the mole. But we love you, and love brings you home. And here's a picture of the fox, the mole, and the boy all sitting on their favorite tree branch. And then they're walking, and again the mole's riding on the fox. And they're walking out into the wild. And the mole says, I think everyone is just trying to get home. The next thing you know, they run into the horse. They see the horse. Hello, says the horse. Hello, says the mole. Now the horse is many times larger than the boy and the mole and the fox all put together. So this is a brand new experience. And what do most of us do in the face of new experiences? We generate fear. But they didn't do that. They stayed and they greeted and they met each other. And then the boy asks, doing nothing with friends is never doing nothing, is it? No, said the mole. And then the next few pages are these diagrams of the horse and musical notes and the horse and a hill and the boy on the horse and the fox on the horse and the horse jumping with the boy on his back and the fox jumping. And then there's a picture with the boy in the water and the horse in the water, and the caption reads, "You fell, but I've got you." And the next picture is the boy holding on to the horse's neck as the horse walks to shore. Everyone is a bit scared, said the horse, but we're less scared when we're together. Tears fall for a reason, and they are your strength, not weakness, says the horse. Well, what is the bravest thing you've ever said? Asked the boy. What's the bravest thing you've ever said? The horse replied, help is the bravest thing I've ever said. When you have been at your strongest, or when have you been at your strongest? Asked the boy. When I've dared to show my weakness, replied the horse. As I'm reading this, I'm thinking about the culture we're living in and the people near the top of our culture that live basically the opposite of these lessons. Don't show strength, never admit you made a mistake, never say you lied, always cover up. The facade is everything, the depth and the quality of the innards mean nothing. So this book has core lessons for living a human life, living connected to the gift of life, that pretty much run the opposite of what our culture is demonstrating for us. They may give lip service to personal growth, but the culture doesn't reward it. So when the horse was at its strongest was when he was willing to show weakness and ask for help. Asking for help isn't giving up, said the horse. It's refusing to give up. It's determination to use whatever tools you can to accomplish whatever you can. The boy says, sometimes I worry that you'll all realize that I'm just ordinary, said the boy. The mole replies, love doesn't need you to be extraordinary. Love doesn't need you to be extraordinary. As a matter of fact, love doesn't need you to be anything other than what you are, just what you are. There's a beautiful picture of the boy riding the horse with the mole behind him and the fox on the ground, and the horse is trotting along in the night under the moonlight. We all need a reason to keep going, said the horse. What's yours? The fox replied, my reason to keep going is you three. The boy, the mole, and the horse. The boy said, well, my reason to keep going is getting home. And of course, the mole, in predictable fashion, says, cake is my reason for moving forward. I've discovered something better than cake. No, you haven't, said the boy. I have, replied the mole. "Well, what is it?" said the boy. "A hug. It lasts longer." And then the next picture is the boy hugging the mole, and the fox wrapping his tail around the boy's legs, and the horse nodding its head to the top of the boy's head. And then there's a picture with the boy hugging the fox, with the mole sitting close. "Nothing beats kindness," said the horse. "Kindness sits quietly beyond all things." And there's a picture of the horse laying on the ground with the fox, the boy, and the mole sitting on top of the horse. "Sometimes," said the horse. "Sometimes what?" asked the boy. "Sometimes just getting up and carrying on is brave and magnificent." Sometimes just getting up and carrying on is brave and magnificent. Then there's a picture of the boy and the mole riding the horse with the fox nearby, and the horse is looking out over the pond, and there's 2 swans on the pond. "How do they look so together and perfect?" asked the boy. The horse replied, "Because there's a lot of frantic paddling going on beneath the water." The mole says, "That's the greatest illusion." No, the greatest illusion is that life should be perfect. And the word perfect is all butchered. "Is it like the moon?" asked the boy. "It's a teacup stain," said the mole. "And where there's tea, there's cake." And what he's showing is there's a picture with an actual ring of what would be tea or coffee stain on the picture, and the boy and the mole and the horse are drawn looking at it as though there's a problem. Be curious. Life is difficult, but you are loved. "So, you know all about me?" asked the boy. "Yes," said the horse. "And you still love me?" asked the boy. "We love you all the more," said the horse. The very things that most people think will drive others away from them are the very things that endear them to them the most. Your humanity, your gift of life, your presence is the blessing. Sometimes I think you believe in me more than I do," said the boy. "Well, you'll catch up," said the horse. It's good to have people around you that believe in you. It's good to be able to question how come they believe in you when you don't. "The fox never really speaks," whispered the boy. The horse said, "No, and it's lovely he is with us." "To be honest, I often feel I have nothing interesting to say," said the fox. "Being honest is always interesting," says the horse. "There's something I haven't told you," said the horse. "What's that?" said the boy. "Well, I can fly." But I stopped because it made the other horses jealous. "Well, we love you," said the boy, "whether you can fly or not." And then in the picture, the horse, laying on the ground, in a series of 3 pictures, actually develops wings. And then the horse stands up, and its wings are fully formed, and it says, "Okay, if you'll love me even if I fly, I won't suppress my true nature and my ability to fly. I'll just be me, and I'll enjoy you." And then there's some pictures of the horse with wings. And then the mole asks, "Is your glass half empty or half full?" And the boy said, "I think I'm grateful just to have a glass." Then there's a picture of them standing beneath the tree that has a whole bunch of other branches, but it's the tree that carries their favorite branch to be on. "We don't know about tomorrow," said the horse. "All we need to know is that we love each other, that we have this love. When the dark clouds come, you just keep going. When the big things feel out of control, focus on what you love right under your nose. This storm shall pass. After the storm, the air is fresh. The light seems brighter and sweeter." "We have such a long way to go," sighed the boy. "Yes, but look how far we've come," said the horse. "Sometimes I want to say, 'I love you all,'" said the mole, "but I find it difficult." "Do you?" said the boy. "Yes. So I say something like, 'I'm glad that we are all here.'" "Okay," said the boy. "I'm glad we're all here." "We are so glad that you're here too," said the boy. "What's your best discovery?" asked the mole. "That I am enough, just as I am," said the boy. "I've realized why we're here," whispered the boy. "Is it for cake?" asked the mole. "No, to love," said the boy. "And be loved," said the horse. "We're here for the experience of loving and being loved." "What do we do when our hearts hurt?" asked the boy. "We wrap them in friendship, shared tears and time, till they wake hopeful and happy again." What do we do when our hearts hurt? We wrap them in friendship, shared tears and time until they wake up hopeful and happy again. "Do you have any other advice?" asked the boy. "Don't measure how valuable you are by the way you're treated," said the horse. "Always remember, you matter, you're important, and you are loved, and you bring much to this world. You bring things to this world no one else can." And then there's another picture. It's one from the previous part of the book with the nighttime and the horse laying down and the mole and the fox and the boy sitting on top of the horse. Home isn't always a place, is it? No, home is right where you are when you realize your true nature. And then there's a picture where the boy is standing on tiptoes to give the horse a kiss, and the mole and the fox are watching, and the words, "Thank you." And then there's a picture of the boy riding the horse. The horse is rearing up on two legs. The mole is on the horse behind the boy. The fox is in the grass watching. And the words, "The end," have been crossed out and replaced by, "Look how far we've come." So there is no end of the journey. We are just travelers walking each other home, and doing it with friends, and doing it with the knowledge that you are made of the stuff we call love makes it a very different journey. And then kind of like an epilogue, sometimes all you hear about is the hate. But there's more love in this world than you could possibly imagine. This book is about friendship, and I couldn't have made it without my friends, so thank you. Matthew, Grace, Bear, Phil, Miranda, Amy, Emmett, Scarlett, Charlie, Richard, and Helen, just to name a few. You people whose conversations and love are so a part of these pages. And then there are a whole list of other names of people he's thanking. Just take this step. The horizon will look after itself. Look how far we've come. The book, the boy, the mole, the fox, and the horse. What might that have stirred up for some people? We have about 10 minutes left if we choose to use them. We don't have to stick around until a clock says they're done, but we have plenty of time for comments and questions, answers, testimonials, reactions. So I almost recited the phone number. These old habits die hard. So we have a weekend coming. We will have a support group next Tuesday. We will not have one on Thursday because it's the holiday, the Thanksgiving holiday. I will just mention that we have people that are wrapping up their intensives either today or tomorrow. I don't know what the full schedule is, but please keep those people in your hearts and minds and send blessings and loving thoughts where you can. And
Tim?
next, yes,
Are
Susan
you?
Bingham.
Hi, Tim. Are you going to be on Thanksgiving? I forget, sometimes Michael runs his show right through a holiday.
I will probably not do a show on Thanksgiving Day because of the holiday and the people I will be with.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
But I'll
Okay.
do one on Wednesday, and I'll decide on the fly about Friday.
Mm. Well, thanks for the story. I feel like a little kid. I had a bedtime story. It was wonderful.
I have a friend who's a singer, songwriter, spoken word artist, and she often, as she's preparing to read one of her pieces, she says, or sing a song, she says, try to just sit back comfortably in your chair and close your eyes and take this in the way a child might take in a lullaby.
That's the way it felt. The part that struck me the most is your home. Wherever you are home. And anybody who has any agoraphobia at all doesn't feel that way. They go out the front door and they're dealing with a little bit of, oh my God, I'm leaving home. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, Guy Finley has an extended story about the wise old owl flying above the forest, and he's there to take care of things and make sure everything's flowing smoothly. And he sees there's a gathering of animals, and they seem to be having a very animated discussion, if not an argument. And so he flies down and listens, and sure enough, they're having all but a knockdown, drag-out argument about who is the smartest or the most comfortable or whatever. And as it's reaching a fevered pitch, the owl speaks up and says, "Well, you know, I know who the wisest animal in the forest is, but he's not here." And, of course, then all the animals there are clamoring and saying, well, who is it? Who is it? Well, it's Tommy Turtle. What? That sluggish, ugly-looking. Yeah, well, why do you say he's the wisest? Why do you say he's the happiest? Well, because he takes his home with him wherever he goes.
Uh-huh.
Wherever he goes, he's home.
Mm.
And when you understand it's not a National Geographic special about turtles, it's a
Mm-hmm.
spiritual story,
Mm.
then you realize you can be home wherever you are. If you make your home in the breathing unity, if you make your home in the awareness of the energies that animate you, that animate your body, that you're plugged into all the time, you can realize that your home is in you.
Mm.
Just like they say, the kingdom of heaven is within you.
Mm. Ramakrishna had a wife, a consort, Holy Mother her name was, and she said, this is a sort of variation on that. She said, wherever you go, make it your home. But she also said, take on the customs of the people who you are with, make them your own. It was a way of acknowledging the homeness of whatever people are there, and also to not try to change anything or be jarring in any way, but to affirm the home that's there already. And I've been noticing with our housemate and her boys, Marwa, she has done that beautifully in our country. She's a Muslim woman who takes, I swear to God, she takes the presence of God with her into wherever she goes and blends in. She isn't trying to deny her culture. She's just acknowledging that this culture is now her home, and she's making it her home. So you'd never know. She doesn't wear any special clothing. Not that that's bad. She accommodates, and people love her wherever she goes, wherever she works. People love her. And I think that's because she affirms who they are and makes herself part of them in a gorgeous way, that she doesn't try to hold on to her any kind of former identity, even though she hasn't lost anything. So I was thinking of that as you read the story too, what home means. So many refugees, home is a transplanted place, or they are transplanted into a place. So
Yeah, home can become your feeling, right? I mean, as people say so often, it feels like home, or it's good to be home. Well, what are they talking about? It's a good feeling to be home. So literally, without realizing it, our speech is telling us that this thing we call home is far more a feeling than a place. And it's woven through our speech if we'll understand it and remind ourselves of it consciously. So you can generate that good feeling wherever you are, especially if you remember to come back into yourself, to come back into the full awareness of your life and the gift of life expressing as you. So here's a thank you from Colleen about the story. So thank you, Colleen, for being here and listening. Thank you, Susan, for your comments. Any last words from you, Susan? Not that we're ending your life or anything, but...
Thanks, I appreciate that. Right. No, just have a great weekend, and thanks for the show. It's like an oasis. Just lay here listening.
Well, you're very welcome and deserving. Thank you for being here. I'll remind us all that we come from love. We're made of the stuff we call love. We actually are this stuff of energy of life expressing in form called love. And everything else is false. And I'll remind you that in my life, what I've observed is that every single time things do not work out the way I think they should, they always work out far better than I ever thought they could. Blessings.